Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you. It's a Wednesday. It's a great day to be alive. It's beautiful outside. It is vibrant. I'm feeling a sense of, dynamic and zest for life today. We're going to bring a show to you that is going to be incredibly impactful in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and across Central Virginia. This is the type of information that you're not finding anywhere else. And we're going to do it in a way that's approachable, realistic, and really shining an important spotlight on leadership locally and how they could be dismantling this city. I mean that. I feel like this community is at a crossroads that it hasn't seen in a long time. And we're going to show you and allow you to make the decision yourself. Give the show a like and a share. Please do it now. Hammer the like button. Share the show. Tag a friend. If someone needs to hear what's happening, now's the time to let them know to tune in. Judah, let's give some love to Ting. Save $288 for Ting Fiber Internet, the best internet possible, through ilovecville.ting.com. It powers this show. It will absolutely improve your quality of life. You understand how reliant we are on Wi-Fi now in this COVID quarantine virtual learning landscape. So a lot we're going to cover on today's show. City Hall is threatening restaurants with cafe spaces. Cafe spaces are the seating we see, for example, along the downtown mall. The seating on the downtown mall owned by the city. The city offered the restaurants across the city of Charlottesville a little bit of a pause in the collection of cafe taxes. Now they're asking for the cafe taxes, the cafe rents, to be paid in totality. We have a letter from Mike Rohde, who is the owner of Rapture, that we were copied on. Right atop the letterhead, my name and our business copied on. And this is the perspective that is shared across all the restaurants and the restaurant owners. So we're going to read that letter to you, and we're going to ask you this question. Now, City Hall is threatening to take away the cafes of restaurants on the downtown mall, for example. If they take these cafes away, what would happen? Well, I would bet they're going to close down because you're taking away their seating and how they earn their income. If the cafes are closed down by City Hall, and that's what the threat that's being made right now, who would replace the businesses and the restaurants on the downtown mall? It's COVID. Do you think there's tremendous consumer confidence with entrepreneurs to start restaurants right now? Do we think there's a waiting list for people that would fill the gaps of those that leave if their cafes are stripped, revoked, or taken from them? No, of course not. It's COVID. There's not a lot of folks right now launching and starting restaurants. Now, here's the million-dollar question before I get to the letter. Give the show a like and a share on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. If the cafes are removed from the downtown mall, what does the downtown mall become? Are the downtown mall cafes not the driving generator of people patronizing and visiting these 6-8 blocks? Hell yeah, of course. We come to the mall, number one, for the restaurants. We come to the mall, number two, for the music. We come to the mall, number three, for the shopping, the art, etc., etc., etc. Without question, the driving force are the cafes and the restaurants for why people patronize the heartbeat of Charlottesville. We are all in agreement there. Yes? Yes? Give the show a like and a share. Tell friends what's happening here. Jason Burke from California, welcome to the show. Johnny Ornalis, we loved El Marachi last night. We'll do a spotlight on El Marachi, one of the phenomenal Mexican restaurants that's now in Charlottesville in Central Virginia. It's located at Zion's Crossroads. It was fantastic, Johnny. Sandy and your family. We'll talk about that. Kelly Jackson, welcome to the show. Peter Sweeney, welcome to the show. Curtis Shaver, thank you for sharing the show. We appreciate that. Neil Williamson, hello. Give it a like, give it a share. Do it now. Mike Rohde's letter coming up. He's the owner of Rapture. We're going to play Mayor Walker and her comments on Monday's council that must be played again, where she just said, if your business dies, just start it again, damn it. That's what she said. We'll play what's clearly a beef that's percolating between Mayor Walker and Lloyd Snook. It's been percolating for a number of months. It's taking a different level. Listen to the back and forth between Councilor Snook and Mayor Walker on Monday. We have that clip for you. And how the mayor marginalizes Lloyd and his perspective. We have a winery in Williamsburg that's for sale for $40 million. This winery has 342 acres on it. The Williamsburg Winery for sale for $40 million. Is that a reflection of what's to come for wineries and vineyards across the Commonwealth in this COVID landscape? We will ask that question. We have a casino being planned for Norfolk, Virginia. And this Norfolk casino, the taxes being projected for the Norfolk casino in 1 year, one calendar year, 365 days, $44 million in incremental revenue for Norfolk, Virginia. If this casino is approved, the municipality, Norfolk itself, would get $44 million per year in taxes estimated. We'll cover that story, and then we'll ask you this question. We know the governor is going to allow 6 to 10, 6 to 12 gambling licenses, and he's going to issue those permits in January. Does Charlottesville and Central Virginia now need a casino to make up for the budget deficit that's in the city and in the county? Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback for the Washington football team, has been benched. NC State travels to the University of Virginia. The Wahoos, a 9.5-point favorite with a 12 p.m. kickoff on the ACC Network. The over-under at 60.5. Virginia Tech at UNC. The Tar Heels, a 5.5-point favorite. The Hokies and Tar Heels, 12 p.m. on national TV. Give the show a like and a share. We're about to get started. Buckle in. It's going to be 45 minutes to an hour of knowledge bombs that you're getting nowhere else that you need to hear. If you're a business owner, if you're a homeowner, if you rely on Charlottesville or Albemarle County or Central Virginia, any business for your income and to pay your bills, you need to sit down, you need to take a deep breath, because your livelihood, your retirement is in jeopardy because of the decisions that are being made by 3 or 4 people. And I'm going to explain to you why. Let's get to our top story today. Get page 1 of the letter on screen from Michael Rohde, the owner of Rapture Restaurant. Give me the thumbs up when it's on there. When you look at the screen, look at the screen, and look at the screen now, please. You will see this letter addressed to John Blair, interim city manager. You will see the letter addressed to Craig Fabio, zoning inspector, and Jason Ness, the business development manager. CC'd on this letter myself, Jerry Miller, I Love CVille and VMV Brands, Eric Terry, also CC'd, of the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association, Joan Fenton, Downtown Business Association of Charlottesville president, CC'd on this as well. Here's the nitty-gritty. Here's the foundation. Here is what this letter is about. Mike Rohde, owner of Rapture, with a number of restaurateurs also signing this letter. We'll let you know who co-signed the letter from Michael Rohde. I am writing in response to a recent notice that Downtown Mall Cafe rent, which had been deferred due to COVID-19, is now payable in totality by October 30th, 2020. You are telling us if we fail to pay this rent, you will strip the use of our cafe space from us. Those of us who rent our outdoor dining space from the city are quite aware of the fiscal crisis facing small municipalities, especially those whose solvency relies heavily on meals tax collections. Revenues for restaurants are down 60%. Those downtown restaurants are down closer to 70% in revenues. Michael continues, and I paraphrase, our overhead has stayed the same, if not increased. We now have to pay more money for gloves, for masks, And because demand is so high for gloves and masks, because everyone needs them, the cost of these goods are going up. If restaurants cannot pay and their cafe leases are thereby rescinded, Michael Rohde says, as the missive from the city council threatens, how many of the restaurants will permanently close their doors? How many more citizens will be unemployed? How will meals tax revenues and cafe rents be collected next year or the following year if so many businesses are forced to close this year? Do city officials actually believe there is a wellspring of waiting tenants to fill our places to assume the responsibility of triple net leases? Come back to me, please, Judah Wickhauer. Here's what's happening. You have City Hall, who faces a tremendous budget deficit. You have 5 counselors who have never had to be entrepreneurial, innovative, create incremental revenue for smaller, medium-sized businesses because that's not their background. Instead, and the mayor was a part-time Parks and Rec employee, before assuming a leadership position as the mayor of Charlottesville. So the back for City Hall, their backs are against the wall. And they're going to the restaurant owners on the mall and saying, you know what, by October 30th of this year, the rent that you owe us for all of 2020 for these cafes, and we own the land the cafes are upon, all that money is due by October 30th, and if you do not pay that rent, we will strip you and take away your cafe space. That's called a threat. That is a threat. That is a straight up threat. I don't want anybody confused what's happening. That is a threat from local government to an industry that's critically important for survival in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. And local government is threatening the second most important, and I'm going to group this industry by restaurants, wineries, breweries, food and beverage. Second most important industry in Central Virginia, in Fluvanna, in Orange, in Greene, in Nelson, in Louisa, in Orange, in Charlottesville, and Central Virginia. Our identity tied to restaurants, food and beverage, wineries, breweries, and the auxiliary businesses that go with them. Hint, hint, weddings. Local government at the heartbeat of Central Virginia, City Hall says, if you don't pay the rent you owe us for these cafes, we're going to take them away from you. Now, I want to ask you this question. We're in the midst of a pandemic where certain industries have been much more impacted than others. Food and beverage, hospitality, restaurants, and music. More than any. If you strip the outdoor and cafe spaces from these particular businesses, what's going to happen? Well, the musicians won't have a place to play. The artists won't have a place to hang their art. Waiters, back of the house, front of the house, they will risk their employment because without the cafe space, how are you going to pay your bills? How, if you don't have outside seating during COVID where people are hesitant to eat inside, how are you going to pay your bills if you're in the sit-down restaurant business? How are you going to do that? You can't. You won't. You're not. You're going to close. So local government has their back against the wall because they don't have the money due to COVID. Meals tax ain't there. Tourism ain't there. Travel ain't there. Retail taxes ain't there. Everyone's hurting. Everyone's feeling the pinch. So instead of coming with creative, incremental, new, innovative ways to generate incremental revenue, the best kind of revenue, because it's new money on the books. Instead of coming up with incremental ways to drive revenue to make up the budget deficit, instead, local government squeezes the balls squeezes the balls of an industry that's been the foundation for taxable revenue. Meals tax, meals tax, meals tax, meals tax, hotel taxes, tourism, food and beverage taxes. You know what I call that in my book? I call that like the not seeing the forest through the trees, and that's me being polite. I was going to use some profanities, but one of my friends that watched this program, I have tremendous respect for her, so I'm going to just call it not seeing the forest through the trees. I'm going to ask you this question. If the cold, squeeze your balls threat, you don't pay your rent by 10:30, which is in approximately 23 days, less than 23 days. We're already into Wednesday, October 7th. Less than 23 days. You know what? I'll give you to close of business on October 30th. So that is in 23 days, 4 hours, and 7 minutes. I just got a text message from Wilson Richey. Come on over. Wilson, we would love to have you. Wilson Richey's on his way. Just sent me a Facebook message. That's the most prolific restaurateur from a units standpoint, individual restaurants' own standpoint. Second, maybe third. Kelly, you know, I say the Jackson family with 16 Paneras is one. Corin Cabshaw's got his hands in a lot of things, so we'll put Wilson in the 3 slot. Okay, he's going to swing by here to talk about this. That's how impactful it is. I just got the message. So Judah, you be on the lookout for Wilson Richey, please. Let him in on the door, and I'll slide over to chair here, and we'll put him on mic over here. Okay, J-Dubs? This is live programming at its finest. We'll probably be standing as well. You don't pay your cafe taxes, we're going to take your cafes from you. You going to Studio Cam? Go to Studio Cam. They want so you can see your handsome face on set. Come on, and then we can get the chair moving on. The question I have for you, who is going to replace, if they choose to close because they don't have the outside seating, who's going to replace them? None! Who's going to launch a restaurant now? Nobody. So we now, as a community, have to figure out how we're going to solve this. One of the first steps to solving it is bringing it to your attention, which we're doing now in the most influential and impactful way possible. Now, before Wilson joins us on set, Judah, I want you to play the audio, the sound from Mayor Walker from Monday's council meeting when she straight up said, just launch your business again if it fails. Just restart it. Launch it again. It's better than human life, okay? You know what? It's not a zero-sum game. It ain't a zero-sum game. It's not about saving human life or being pro small business. It's not sand in the line in the sand, and you're either pro saving life in a pandemic or saving business. It's not that. And that's what she's trying to make it out to be. The Venn diagram, where it's a circle, we can be in the middle where we're pro saving lives in a pandemic and maintaining health, safety, and people's good health, but also preserving the businesses in the local economy that we also love so dearly, that we realize is critical for the long-term success of the community. Boys and girls, we will eventually get a vaccine. We will eventually have COVID in check. We will eventually have testing that turns around results in 15 minutes. We will eventually have a vaccine much like the flu vaccine where we will be able to go to Wegmans or CVS, Rite Aid, whatever it may be, and have it injected into our arms, have it covered by insurance, and you get, like Wegmans, you can leave with a free pizza after you get the flu vaccine. That will happen to COVID. But if we turn our back on small and medium-sized businesses, if we turn our back on the local economy, if we say, screw you, like Mayor Walker said on Monday, the recovery from a depressed, demoralized, destroyed economy will take significantly longer than a vaccine coming, which Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and a number of other publicly traded companies that I'm invested in financially with my own hard money. That vaccine is coming. The quick turnaround tests are a month away where you're going to get results immediately. UVA is using people's saliva right now and getting results back damn near the same day. We will, as an innovative American population, we will beat COVID. But if our leadership can't see the forest through the trees from a small and medium-sized business standpoint, the recovery of a depressed, demoralized, destroyed economy will be much greater, and the collateral damage of going through this recovery will be much more negatively impactful for our population and our citizens than having to deal with COVID for the next 6 months. I think Wilson Richey's coming up here. Give the show a like and a share. Wilson Richey coming in here in a matter of moments. I'm curious of this man's take. We're live here. We'll bring you on here in a second. I want to play, before we welcome a friend of this program, a man who makes the vests look incredibly fashionable, and GQ and Wilson Richey. I want to play the audio visual and the sound from Mayor Walker, Judah Wickhauer, when she straight up said, if your business fails, who cares? Just start it again. One second, Wilson, and then we'll get you on here. Let's play the sound, Judah, and when that sound is playing, this will allow us to get situated because it's about 3 minutes of video of her. Cool. Okay, so Judah, let's play. Do you have that sound for Mayor Walker where she said, if your business fails, who cares? Just start it again?
Is that the first one?
Yeah, that's the first one, not the one with her and Lloyd.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, you have the first one. How long is that clip?
It's a minute and a half.
Okay, in that 90 seconds, you turn off our mics. I'm gonna go to this chair. Wilson will go here, and I'll get my mask on, and we'll be rocking and rolling. Okay, play it in 3, 2, and 1.
I also understand the dilemma that the restaurant industry finds itself in. I know a lot of people who've picked up employment, driving for like DoorDash and things like that. So they are really busy. So people are buying food. And we've asked for, or at least I've asked for some of those numbers on how restaurants are doing in the area, that it is important. But I will always, my foundation will always be public health, and anything else we can fix. And people, even if businesses fail, they can start another business, which I know is not the goal of anybody who put their life. I have family members who own small businesses. But what we cannot do is bring somebody back to life if they die. And so my concern will always be to try to prevent that, because we don't know, once this virus is introduced to someone, how it will affect them. And I sent the email just stating that I've encouraged people to pick up, have their food delivered to them. I have said tip well, because if you're not sitting and getting good service and able to tip at the end of that you still understand during these times, if you have the means to tip, that you should do it. So I've been encouraging all those things as well.
We now have, let's go to the studio cam. Let's go to the studio cam, please. We'll have Wilson Richey here. This guy's A+ people. We are not only 8 feet apart, we're also wearing masks. We're sitting 8 feet or more apart from our director, Judah Wickhauer, as well. So Wilson, before we go down the nitty-gritty, how about just for the few that don't know who you are, an introduction to who you are and what you own and the ones that you manage, because I think that would help as an intro for you.
Okay, yeah. Hi, I'm Will Richey. My parent company is called 10 Course Hospitality, which you can find online. And right now, I'm running the Whiskey Jar, Revolutionary Soup, Bebedero, and we've kind of consolidated through all of this. We were managing Commonwealth when it was going on. We help out with Tavern and Grocery. We've helped out with several restaurants over the years, helped get a lot started and moved on. All of that's on the website.
So this guy, seasoned, this guy responsible for quite a lot of people from a leadership standpoint, with helping drive businesses forward so people can have a job and pay their bills. That's safe to say right there. I'm going to get out of your way in regards to any topic you want to cover. I think the first one would be the city and cafe rent being due by the end of October, with the very clear threat that cafe space can be taken away.
Yeah. That's really. I really appreciate you having me on here, and I was glad to come out and talk to your viewers and to anyone who's watching about that specifically, just because it's near and dear to my heart. How restaurants go in this town. It's my livelihood. It's my life. So I mean, we were already freaking out about winter. What are we going to do this winter? A lot of people who have been coming out and supporting us, and thank you to everybody who has been coming out and supporting my restaurants and all the restaurants in town. We are all so very grateful. I'm on a text chain with several of the restaurant owners around town, and it's just the love and the gratitude is just palpable every day from everyone who's in this business. But we're freaking out about winter already. We're about 30% of capacity most of the time. We've had, in October, we've seen a little bit more, and that's great. If you're down in the mall the weekends, people are out and about, and that's fantastic. Everyone's doing a great job with masks and distancing. I think this town is doing a fantastic job. But winter's going to be tough because a lot of people who are coming out have made it clear that they feel comfortable with outside dining, but they do not feel comfortable inside. And I don't know what that percent looks like, and we're about to find out here pretty quick. So we're going to try to do indoor dining this winter, but we really don't know what that's going to look like. And many of us have used our PPP loans. Myself, I also got the EIDL loan, which is great, but I'm into that loan, and that's money I'm going to owe as soon as that comes up. And I really see the winter as potentially really digging into these loans we've been given, digging in deep and coming out of the winter owing crushing amounts of money. So we need everything we can get to get through this winter, and the idea of not having indoor dining would be devastating. It really would be devastating, especially if there's no alternative presented. I asked about, well, can we put our tents up on our outdoor location and make that an outdoor space with heat and the city so far, and I know the city is working very hard on this, and I really appreciate it. A lot of people in the city, or a few people in the city, are really thinking about us and trying to get things fixed. But one thing I want to say is, if for some reason we're not allowed to do indoor dining, then a better strategy for outdoor tenting is going to be necessary. One that includes walls and heaters so that we can make a viable eating area for guests who want to come out and dine in that way. As of now, you can put a tent on the mall, but it has to have a clear roof. You can't put a heater under it, and you can't have walls. And that's basically, that's good for a rain situation, but we're looking for a cold situation here. So
you have 33 of your colleagues watching. I just got a text message that Lauren counts 33 restaurant owners watching now.
Awesome. Hey, guys.
This is coming in here. The cafes, I said this, I led the show. The the Wilson Richey's of downtown Charlottesville are why people come to downtown Charlottesville. The Wilson Richey's of downtown Charlottesville are why the real estate around downtown Charlottesville, Belmont, and North Downtown, now trickling into Fifeville, why that real estate is strong is because people want to walk to the Wilson Richey's of downtown and their restaurants. I'll include Mike Rohde in there, and I'm not going to, if I leave you out, it's not a diss on you. You guys are all rock stars. Annie McClure, Brian Helleberg. The whole reason people want to come downtown is because of these guys. The Finazos at Sal's, Dean Maupin, Vincent, and I'm just off the top of my head, guys, I'm not leaving anybody out. So they're literally coming to you because City Hall, because there's a budget deficit, and it's a significant deficit, and it's because taxes are down across the board. And this budget deficit, they're trying to fight tooth and nail to get every dollar back to try to shrink that deficit as much as possible.
Yeah.
So instead of realizing that the long game is to support you, like Albemarle County is doing with grant money, where it's to get tents up, give them grant money for heating, take the side streets like we saw in downtown Stanton and turn them into seating for the restaurants to enjoy and to utilize.
Yep.
Maybe create the idea we had, which was sell a bracelet for $5 in the center of the downtown mall, and the city could keep that bracelet, keep that money from the bracelet, but give the people a cup, and then they could take that cup to the Wilson Richey restaurants of the downtown mall, fill it up with booze, wine, and cocktails,
Yep.
and walk up and down the freaking mall.
As it should be.
For the people that
As
are
it should be.
scared
That
about
just
eating
should-
inside. It's common sense.
That should just be done.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it not common sense?
It's common sense.
It's common sense. And it would drive more insight and interest for downtown.
Yes.
And the city would get an incremental revenue stream that they did not have on the books that would help them make up the deficit.
Absolutely.
Instead of doing the ideas that people like you and I come up with, because we have to come up with these ideas
Yeah.
to survive. Right?
Yep, to survive.
To survive, we
Yeah.
have to think this way. They're instead going to the people like you and saying, give us the money you owe us, which is short term
Yeah.
thinking, and if you don't give us that money, we're going to strip away your most valuable commodity, your cafe.
And the timing couldn't...
Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And the timing couldn't be worse because it's right at the beginning of the winter when we are trying to hold on to everything we have to get through a potentially dead 3 or 4 months.
Cash is king.
Yeah.
So how you survive a downswing in your business is by having a deep burn rate or a long burn rate, and a burn rate is synonymous with how much money you have in the bank.
Yeah.
And this industry had to use the savings they had, and it's important to emphasize, restaurant owners don't get rich. They're doing this because they love to be around people and to
Yeah.
create jobs and to serve. That's why they do it. So the money they had in the bank got burned in March, April, May, June through now because we weren't supporting them, and it's not because we didn't want to, it's because we were somewhat nervous.
I think most of us are living on loans right now that we are going to have to pay back. But, you know, the thinking is gamble, get through this time.
Get to the vaccine.
Yeah. But then here we are, you know, most of us who've been doing this for a while, we're going to end up owing money all over again, years and years and years of debt payout to get back out again. And, you know, I was really inspired by your show yesterday with Daniel coming on and talking a little bit about how he got his restaurant
How
started.
real was Daniel Kaufman?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
so
That was awesome.
genuine, right? And vulnerable.
Yep. That was a great show. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about how I got started because I really want to let people know, especially the city council, what it's like to be a small mom and pop restaurant in this area. I mean, there was a comment about, you know, restaurants being hobbies for people out there, and nothing could be further from the truth. You know, I bought Revolutionary Soup as my first restaurant, 2005. To get that, I've been working in the restaurant industry for many years prior to that, but I had no money. You know, I was a UVA grad. I was an English major, so I was waiting tables, which is what most of us do. But I wanted a restaurant, and I had been trying for 3 or 4 years to break in. I couldn't break in. I didn't have any money. All I had was my work ethic, and I have a good work ethic. But finally, Revolutionary Soup was an idea. It wasn't even an idea I was going for, but it was something that was affordable at the time. My dad gave me a very small loan with a 7% interest rate, so it was no gift.
Right.
That I had to pay back to get that restaurant going. And in 2 years, I was able to open Rev Soup the Corner because I'd done so well with the first one. And since then, I've opened up many, many, many restaurants. And
Name some of them.
and
Help
really,
that
I
you've
mean,
helped.
after that, it was Alley Light, Bebedero. Well, it was Whiskey Jar. Sorry, Whiskey Jar, Alley Light, Bebedero, Brasserie Saison.
Pie Chest. You help with that?
Pie
Yeah.
chest. And each time it's not like I've ever made a killing. What it's always been is you build up a couple years of looking good as a restaurant, and a bank's willing to loan you for the next one. And it's been just a cycle of consolidating this debt and pushing it forward to the next restaurant, but I'm never really losing or getting out of debt. It's really a gamble, and it's a very thin success rate, you know. Luckily, most of I think all of my restaurants have made it and have been successful and are doing well thanks to this town. But I'm still, you know, I'm owed a lot of money. I owe a ton of money. I'm not getting rich on this. I have a passion for opening restaurants. I have a passion for seeing spots that I've seen as I've traveled, to seeing aesthetics and certain types of food and bringing people together. I mean, it's my passion. It's my love. You know, in college I loved to throw parties, and I've made a career out of that. Is how I feel.
And you're good at it.
Thank you.
You're really good at it.
But it's not like I've made a ton of money and paid off the first restaurant and then I invested in a second restaurant. It's been some very helpful, friendly bankers who have looked past. Most bankers tell me no. In fact, I usually get 3 banker no's because they're like, you are worth nothing.
Right.
All you have is debt. And for, since when 2017, and then this, and then it's been hard for all of us. It's been very hard. There's nobody I know that's doing this as a hobby. Everybody's got everything. We're all in. All of our mortgages are in on this. Everything we've got is in on this. And I'm sure there are hobbyists out there. I'm sure there's rich people that are doing this for fun. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't think in a town like ours with the mom and pop restaurants and the people that are put everything they have into it, there's so many of us. There's so many restaurants. I've never been in a town that has this many mom and pop, small, passionate, driven restaurants. And to throw us all in the category of hobby restaurants or corporate restaurants or restaurants that don't really need to make money or restaurants that if they fail, you could just start another one. We're not.
That's not us.
That's not us.
Yeah.
That's not this town.
Right.
And yeah, you may be able to punish some of the people like that by hurting all of us, but you're hurting us, those that really can't afford to be in that situation. We need every bit of help we can get, and we're getting it from the inhabitants of this city. And I don't think, again, I think there's a lot of people in city council. I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, or I'm not here to complain about anybody. I wanted to tell my story. There was no pool of money I've ever had to make this stuff happen. I have it because I work my ass off and I don't sleep. I dream in restaurant. And I think almost all of us are in that situation.
We've had 4 different restaurant owners in the city of Charlottesville that have reached out to us since yesterday's show that straight up said to us, we cannot pay the taxes that are due on October 30th for our cafe spaces because we don't have the money. Mm-hmm. Literally, that's what they said to us. In 23 days, can you give us an insight into how much the rents are, how much are due? And it doesn't have to be specific to you, just roundabout. But 4 of them are saying we can't pay the money they're asking for us on October 30th. And then they followed up and said, if we don't pay the money and we lose our space, we will just close.
I think for most people, I think based on my collective, it's going to be about $2,000 to $6,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when the request comes out to pay everything from the rents that are fully due, and folks saying that this might not happen and we might not be able to do it, and if that goes down that road and the cafes are stripped and these restaurants choose to close, what happens then, do you think?
I think what happens to this town if we continue to not recognize what the restaurants have brought as far as growth to this town, visitation from tourism, all of that. If we continue to not support the restaurants that are here, and I'm the restaurant owner, so of course that's what I hope that we get support. But I get it. There's big picture. There's a lot to consider when you're running a city. I get that. I understand. But I think that it is worth valuing what we've added, and I think it's significant, and I think it's standout. If we can't continue to do it as mom and pop restaurants, as individual ownership, as small original concepts. What's going to happen is
Applebee's, Olive Garden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's going to move in. Places that can stand to take high rents, losses, all of the places, all of the hobby restaurants, I guess you'd call them. And there's franchises out there too. Just because it's a chain doesn't mean it's not an individual's hard work.
Sure.
Going into it. But
Sheets on the UVA corner is a perfect example of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Sheets on the UVA corner. Who would have ever thought there would be a Sheets with MTO sandwiches on the UVA corner, but they're one of the brands that can withstand the high rents and eat up the losses in the short term for the hope of a potential payday in the medium long term, with the concept that our competition will slowly erode away and then we'll have all the market share.
Yes.
That's pretty much what Sheets is gambling on.
Yeah, and I think that's what your Paneras gamble on, and what many franchises gamble on, is that we can wait until the mom and pops die off and then it'll be our town. And I grew up in a town like that. And I thought I was never inspired by restaurants growing up because it was just chains and it sucked. And we don't have, that's one of the reasons I moved to this town, is the soul and the individuality of everything here. And I've, along the way, I've helped people get into business. The Pie Chest.
You're a mentor.
Bebedary. I've helped a lot of people get their own businesses established. I've hired people who I think the market would otherwise deem unhireable. And I continue to do that. I mean, this, and all of my colleagues do this and are proud of doing this. We really are a big part of the social fabric of this town.
This guy is like, if you think about in sports, a coaching tree, this dude is atop a coaching tree with a lot of branches below him that have gone and opened their own restaurants. He's doing that with, is it the Milkman's Bar? Is that what it's called?
The new one is the Milkman's Bar, which is a part of the bigger restaurant, South and Central.
And that's River Hawkins and Mike Stewart.
That's right.
And these are guys that are part of his overall organization that he's championing and empowering for them to go and get creative and do other things.
Yeah.
Is that safe?
Yep.
So what did you think about the mayor's comments over the weekend when she said, I think we need to ban indoor dining?
Yeah, I know that was scary. It was scary as hell just to think that could be something that's on the table. And I get it. Public health is of the utmost. But I would just, that it's for my business, just hearing that without any of the considerations, that would be death. That would be death to the restaurant. I mean, I would have to go to banks. I would have to go to landlord. Everybody would have to not charge me anything for 4 months if we did, or however long it was. But it's not even however long it was, because it would take time to build up the payments that we have to make, the overhead again. So if we closed indoor dining for a month, I would need 3 months to be able to afford the payments again.
You guys have 9 different states watching the show now. Folks in Charlottesville, Richmond, McLean, Alexandria, and Arlington watching. Folks in North Carolina, outside Nash Vegas in Tennessee. My brother is watching in Venice, California, literally on the West Coast right now. Live on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube. Dude, I am like effing terrified. Because like your restaurants and your brands and Andy's brands and Brian's brands and Ivan at Zocalo and Andy McClure at Citizen Burger Bar, Helleberg at Fleury and Petit Pois, this dude at Whiskey Jar, Vincent, Bizou, and Bang. I mean, these dudes, and I'm not just saying this because you're across from me, I say this all the time. These guys are the cool brands that we literally... The reason we get in our cars, on our bikes, or take public transportation or walk, and to go to the downtown mall is because of these dudes and these ladies. It's because they've created something cool that we like to support. Then the trickle over effect is music venues start popping up because there's people here on these 8 blocks. Retail shops start popping up because there's people waiting for reservations or before and after lunch or dinner, and they're shopping, window shopping, and maybe going inside. You have a lot of auxiliary businesses popping up because of what these cool dudes are doing. So if we don't see that, that's gonna create a trickle over impact across the entire economy. It's gonna impact landlords and the real estate taxes they'll be able to pay. It's gonna impact the supply chain of restaurants, Farmers Produce, Farmers Protein, Cintas, the uniform company, other uniform companies, effing Fred Henderson, the canopy and window cleaner that
Fred.
relies on you guys for $50 a window clean.
Yeah.
Right? And he goes once or twice a week and he does 6 or 7 in a row on the same day. I mean, can you put in perspective the trickle over impact that you see happening if City Hall cuts its nose to spite its face?
Well, I think another aspect of the mom and pop restaurant is, because we are local, individually owned restaurants by local people, is that we look to support more so than any franchise or corporate business. We seek out companies that are locally owned and run for our support. So, nothing against Cintas, but I don't even use Cintas. I use Virginia Linen, and I use Stanton Steam Cleaning, which are linen companies that are local businesses. Standard Produce, Cavalier Produce, local produce operators, small farms, the local food hub, really good organizations that are out there, and
local wines, local beers.
Yes, local wines, local beers. We all do. Like every guy I know that's doing it, every small mom and pop operator makes giant efforts to do these same things. It's not just I don't want to put myself above anybody on that. Everybody I know is making extreme efforts to keep all of their business local also, keep their dollars local, keep other people in the community doing well as they're doing. So when you come down to a local restaurant, which is the downtown mall and West Main Street are great. It's just a great gathering of more local, independently owned restaurants than I've seen anywhere. You're supporting not only us, but you're supporting a wide infrastructure of other small, locally owned businesses.
Your beautiful special ladies watching Kate Caldwell, shutting down local restaurants is not going to improve public health. So many people in our community would lose their jobs. This would threaten our community's well-being by leaving people without income, health insurance, and more. I want to emphasize this. It's not a zero-sum game. We can be pro-small business, pro-medium-sized business, and supporting them, and we can also champion and be pro wearing masks, staying 6 feet apart, and beating this pandemic. Just because we are championing small and medium-sized businesses does not mean we don't care about your health or our health. In fact, and I'm going to throw this to you, I would venture to say the people that are most committed outside of, say, maybe folks in healthcare, but maybe even equivalent to the folks in healthcare, the people that are most committed to beating this pandemic and squashing it and being safe are these dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
your whole livelihood is dependent on it.
We only lose if a statistic ever came out or an example came out that in a restaurant, an outbreak was linked back to a restaurant. That would be devastating in ways that none of these other things we're talking about could possibly be.
Yeah,
and we are
dude would lose his house. He could lose his house.
Yeah. We are all very, very aware of that, and we are doing everything. My staff and everybody else that I'm talking to, their staffs are the same way. There is no room for error. Every night I get an update saying we had a customer. If there was a customer who was giving us problems with our mask rules or any of the rules we're using right now, we discuss it. We discuss how to handle it in the future. And I'm getting less and less of those emails because we have slowly figured out how to keep it as tight as we can possibly keep it. So yeah, I agree, and I thank you for pointing that out. I mean, we have so much to lose if we somehow let down our guard.
I've seen it firsthand, guys. I've seen it firsthand. Okay, so what do we do? You're a big idea guy. You're the innovator guy. What do we do to get through now and April 1?
Jeez.
Because a lot of your colleagues have called it restaurant apocalypse.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we can't make it any harder for us. I get it if there were an outbreak linked to restaurant dining. I get it if they need to, I get it if they need to make a big change then. But until then, supporting us where we are, supporting what we're currently doing on the downtown mall specifically, helping us make our patios viable eating areas during the winter by loosening the tent rulings for downtown mall, making it. I put it on the city to think of a way that works for you guys that we can tent our outdoor areas and use them. We need heat, and we need the heat to be able to stay in there for people to want to be out there. So the current regulations don't really work for us. I don't know, and I haven't thought of too many other ways than to make what we're doing easier and to keep what we're doing going. But dang, when we get out of this. What you and I have been talking about for years, the open air drinking on the downtown mall, ideas like that need to happen, and they need to happen fast. The ABC opened up the alcohol to go thing. There has been only good stuff coming out of that. There has been no problem.
Right.
That was one of those rules that they thought that we could never do this. This will ruin everything. Nothing has happened.
It's been positive.
It's been very positive.
Yeah, right.
The same with drinking on the downtown mall. I just think that would add so much tourism, so many more reasons to come downtown, enjoy downtown and West Main, and the neighboring areas, Belmont. More people would be coming to town because it would be a cool thing just to be able to walk around. Like they do in towns like New Orleans,
New Orleans,
and other places,
yeah.
So
and it's not like we're even talking about the whole city.
Exactly.
We're talking about a controlled area. All right, so you're an F&B idea guy, much more so than I. Do you see any fatal flaws with this concept? You get someone that's paid, say, $15 an hour, working a kiosk in the center of the downtown mall, and you sell bracelets. What would you sell them for $5? I think people would pay $5.
$5? I think people pay $5.
You pay $5 and you get a bracelet and a plastic cup from the city.
Yeah.
The city keeps the $5.
Yeah.
They could be getting like I mean, I don't want to project the income, but tens of thousands of dollars a year easily, if not six figures or more. Then the plastic cup is able to go to the Citizen Burger bars, the whiskey jars. I mean, Sal's Cafe Italia created a super deluxe bar.
I think it's awesome.
Where
They
the
did a
dad
great
used
thing.
to sit all the time.
Yeah.
And the dad used to have his meal there, and they said, you know what, we need this space, and now they have a bar that's facing the mall.
Yeah.
And then we just have the cups filled up with wine, beer, or your awesome cocktails. And I'm sure because you're creative, you would come up with a handheld nosh of some kind that people can have in a cup and a handheld nosh and then just walk up and down the mall.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dude, is that
it seems so obvious to me.
so obvious?
I just don't understand what the holdup is on that.
Yeah. What'd you feel about the county giving grant money in the city
I know
asking for cafe rents?
The county has done a tremendous job. They're really thinking about their people, and I think the city is also. I think it's more complex. It's a little bit more difficult in the city. So I understand that they're working very hard, and it's just going to take time. And I think more people like Daniel and Elena and myself coming in and talking about the need here and who we are as people and telling our story, who we are. We're not hobbyists. We're not.
You're everyday
we're not rich people.
Yeah.
I hope more people will come on the show and in other ways make their voice known to the city that we really need this. This is not just something that we're not trying to get an advantage or anything like that. We really need this help. And again, I know that they're working very hard on it, and I know it's going to take a little time, but I hope they come to the right conclusions.
You got a lot of your colleagues commenting. This is coming in from CNO and Christelle. She says, Jerry, I watched the replay of yesterday's show because mom life, I have stuff going on. I want to comment on indoor dining and throw this to Wilson. And this is CNO Restaurant. This is in a lot of ways, Sandy McAdams, Dave Simpson, and Dean Maupin in this CNO brand, in a lot of ways, were the pioneers for downtown dining.
Absolutely.
And she says, if indoor dining is banned for any amount of time as we are heading into the slow months, this will be detrimental to many local restaurants as well as the event industry. As a non-resident, I don't think I can sign your letter. However, as an employee of a Charlottesville restaurant, I stand with you, and I stand with Mayor Walker and asking her to retire. That there is Christelle at CNO. That was a very good comment. So I want to give you, anything you want to talk about here? We got cafe rents due. We got the mayor alluding to on the weekend that indoor dining should be cut. We got winter coming. We got the county and this invisible line that we cross where one municipality is giving grant money for tents and heating and is allowing the enclosure of the tents. Yeah. And then on the other side of this invisible line, where many of us don't even know when we cross, it's the alternative. Anywhere you want to go on any topic we haven't covered.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of it, and I don't know that I have any new topics. I mean, I would like to hear from the city. I would love it if somebody from the city could reach out to us specifically and maybe set up a time when we can all meet. You know, if the city could, maybe a Zoom call, because I know we're not meeting in person right now, but if we could have this talk with the city and we felt like somebody was actually listening to us specifically, to us, the restaurant owners, from all the different areas, what it is we need, what we're looking for, what our fears are, what we think, because as you, thank you for giving me credit for having good ideas, but there's a lot of these people have good ideas, which is why they're in business. There's a lot of smart people in this industry with good ideas. And I think if the city just could show us that they are listening, that they do recognize our importance to the community, and could create some way we could have a conversation that something productive would come out of, I think that would be very cool.
The manager at Mangione's, Elena Mangione is watching, the owner. Her manager, Erica, is watching. It's devastating. Those of us in the hospitality industry love people and providing a wonderful experience. All of us love our city and want our teams, guests, and community safe, but we need small businesses and we need support from our community. Janice Trevelyan is giving you some props on your food. We had Wilson's haggis meal. It was the best that we could get. It was absolutely fantastic. Andre's wondering if some kind of delivery should be started back up this winter. He was the guy who did CVille delivery.
Yeah, we really appreciated him putting in all that effort. Delivery has dropped off a lot. We'd hired a delivery person for our group to try to avoid the costs of some of the bigger delivery groups, also to provide another local job. Anyway. But it's dropped off. Delivery's dropped off. The takeout thing has dropped off. But the dine-ins been steady, so it's, based on, less. Again, I don't think anybody's pushing that 50% capacity. I think everybody is squarely less than 50% capacity because we're all measuring, the 6 feet from chair to chair, and you can't get 50% capacity. But
so did you hear what he said? Just because we're allowed to have indoor dining at 50% capacity, which is the governor, doesn't mean that they're actually getting 50% capacity because the people have to sit 6 feet apart. It's probably closer to 30% capacity from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I haven't done the math, but it's less than 50% capacity. I forget where I was going with that.
Well, this question's coming in for you here. Has anybody from your association asked the city manager or city hall or city council to use the side streets downtown for seating, or to even roll out seats on the mall or seats at the pavilion like Jerry has said? That question just came in.
Yes. Yes, we were looking, because I have Revolutionary Soup, which is up a side street. We were talking to the city about putting some seating out, temporary seating in the parking spaces. So getting rid of the parking spaces and creating a seating area for us. They were helpful, very helpful, to helping us think through that process. But there's safety regulations involved, and there's a lot more concerns than just let's just put up a tent. It's a lot easier if the side street is bricked, and I've not looked into that personally. But when I was working on the side street for Revolutionary Soup and putting up seating in that parking area, they were helpful, but ultimately the red tape just became too much that we couldn't, we had to put barriers out because cars can drive through there, and it would have been very expensive. And, without knowing what the return actually would have been, it became a project we couldn't continue.
Ted Norris watching the show. Julian Freeman, the social media manager at Peloton Station, watching. Peloton Station just shared the show. CNO watching. El Mitarachi's watching over at Zion's Crossroads. Neil Williamson. Jason Burke, who I think is in California right now, watching. Andy Wilfong. I'm getting message here that you have 36 of your colleagues watching the show. I'm going to throw this to you, and this is a question that's coming in here. To say that we are past the crossroads is just ridiculous. And I think that's how some folks think about it. Going into the winter is going to be the crossroads of this pandemic for food and beverage, hospitality, and restaurants. I think that's safe to say. This person's wondering, how tight is the margin for you guys right now?
Well, let's just say before any of this came up about discontinuing indoor dining and paying off cafe seating, it was already a discussion that a lot of people are going to close their business this winter. Yes, the PPPs got us through the initial phase of this, or in a way, the PPP was not very helpful to us. It gave us the means to pay staff, and to pay landlords. So, we were pass-through entities to keep staff and landlords paid, which we're very glad to do. That's awesome, but it didn't do a ton for the base, except that landlords didn't evict us. And a lot of landlords have been working with people also. I think a lot of people, if nothing changes and we just keep going, I think a lot of people are going to be closing up shop this winter, regardless of anything. It's just hard. You may have that EIDL loan, and you're just watching yourselves write checks from that loan. And
That's
you just
the
watch
EIDL
yourself
loan.
Getting the EIDL loan.
Yeah.
Getting deeper and deeper into debt. At some point, many people are just going to be like, you know what?
I'm
going to cut my losses.
Yeah.
And fold this up.
Fold it up. Basically, say bankruptcy. We're not going to pay the rest of this back.
So exactly. I think that's going to happen to a lot of people this winter. If we're on the current trajectory. If it gets harder to do business, then more people. And I don't know what's going to happen as far as another PPP round or anything like that. Again, these are just Band-Aids. No one is getting out of this without owing a ton of money to the government for the bailouts that we've had to get.
Are you, last one, well, you crush this. You always crush this. Last one here. Are you considering a change in model from sit-down? I'm sure you've been percolating ideas where it's going to be a de-emphasis of sit-down, dine-in, and a more, we're seeing the ghost kitchen concept pop up where people are running 2 or 3 different menus out of one kitchen,
Yeah.
and then using like social and digital and delivery.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going through your head?
We're working on a new concept with the Milkmans, and we're opening in a COVID time.
Right. He's in Dairy Market, guys. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are opening in it. And the cool thing about that market is it's already based on takeout.
Because it's food stalls.
It's food stalls. That's
yeah.
right. So
you have ownership from there watching.
Yeah, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, that's been a great team and a great project. And I think that is going to be a very COVID-minded project because it is. It's like, here's your food, there's seats provided, or you can take it home, whatever you want to do with it. But as far as my personal places, no, I'm not. Like, I think of the Whiskey Jar, which is my flagship and my love. It's, my family's pictures are all over the walls.
That's about the experience of being there.
Yeah. And
right?
It's about the experience of being there.
This is
like,
cool bar, having some great bourbon that you've never had, listening to Coda and Ames,
that's right.
Play right there, have food that's damn good, that's priced well, and seeing other people enjoy it. Dude, there's nothing I miss more than going into a place like that and feeling like the palpable buzz and energy where you just feel it.
Yeah, me too. And everything comes
like
together.
you get off on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. No is the answer. Again, this is my business, but it's not a business. I don't do this because, hey, that looks like a good way to make money. That was not the leading concern for me to get into this business, nor is it in the top 10. It's really to provide what I love myself to other people and to bring people together and enjoy that atmosphere with them. And there's a lot of things under that I love doing about this business. And if I couldn't do that, if it became just selling food, selling to-go food out of a nameless kitchen, I'm not sure that's what I'm into. So
you're into the human connection.
Yes, very much so.
This guy is a rock star. I love Wilson Richey. Whiskey Jar, support it, get there. Curbside, takeout. If you feel comfortable, go inside. If you feel comfortable, eat outside. Support the Whiskey Jar. The place is banging. Judah, if you could see Wilson out, Wilson, thank you. I am grateful.
Thanks a lot, man.
Seriously.
I appreciate all your help.
Yeah, our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thanks to everybody.
Go studio cam, Judah, and get my mic on if you could, please. Oh, man, that was excellent, Wilson. Thank you. All right, guys, we will get to some comments on the feed right now. We have a ton of comments we're going to get to. We have more news that we need to get to on today's show as well. We're going to play, thank you, Wilson. You have a good one. Take care. We're going to play a clip from council meeting that clearly is showing a beef or a divide between the mayor and Councilor Lloyd Snook. She's very dismissive and just, you'll see in this clip of Councilor Snook. That's coming up here. A Williamsburg Winery is for sale for $40 million. We'll tell you that story on the I Love CVille Show. A casino, potentially for Norfolk, that will generate $44 million in taxable revenue for the city of Norfolk. Is it time for a casino in Charlottesville or in Central Virginia to make up the budget deficit? That question for you. William & Mary has parted ways with its athletic director, Dwayne Haskins, benched as quarterback of the Washington football team. NC State at UVA and Virginia Tech at UNC still to come on the show. Before we do, your comments, your thoughts, your perspective on the show, I'm going to straight up, put a bow on this and dot the I's and cross the T's. If the cafe rents are not paid by October 30th, City Hall has said it will take the cafes away, the outside seating away from the restaurants. If that happens, you heard it straight here on the show, that will cause an economic collapse in Charlottesville. If you strip the cafes from the mall, this is the collateral damage. A, the restaurants will close. B, the team members that work for the restaurants will be laid off. C, there will be less interest for people going downtown because they can't sit in the cafes that are important to them to watch the people walk by, or even more importantly, from a short storm standpoint, feel safe from a consumer confidence and a COVID standpoint. That's why we need the cafes. That's where a lot of folks feel safe eating and drinking right now is outside. Okay? Next, how many people are sitting on deck from a restaurant ownership standpoint looking to take over the cafes? None. No one's going to open up a restaurant in COVID. No one's going to open a restaurant during COVID. No one's going to open a restaurant in COVID. Okay? So if City Hall goes to the people on the downtown mall that own the restaurants If City Hall goes to the restaurant owners across the city of Charlottesville and says, you know what, give us the rent for those cafes and give it to us by October 30th, or we're going to strip them from you, you will see an economic collapse in this community. You'll see it from a job loss standpoint. You'll see it from a meals tax loss standpoint. You will see it from a lack of interest for these 8 blocks, the heartbeat of Charlottesville standpoint. You will see the real estate around the downtown mall. You will see your real estate in Belmont, Charlottesville, your real estate in North Downtown, your real estate in Fifeville suffer or decline in value. Why do people live in Belmont? Is it part to be in walking distance of the downtown mall? Hell yes, it is. If you take away the cafes and the restaurants on the downtown mall, what happens to the real estate values in Belmont, North Downtown, Fifeville? What happens to the real estate values along Water Street, Market Street, Queen Charlotte, the ones on the C&O row houses? They will drop in value. So this short-term decision-making has this collateral damage, and this is a direct reflection of having people on council that have never run a small or medium-sized business, that can't see the forest through the trees, can't read a balance sheet, can't read a P&L, and frankly speaking, can't carry the one on balancing their checkbook. You close the cafes, the restaurants will close, people will lose their job, the landlords won't get the rents for their buildings. When the landlords don't get the rents, they're going to go to City Hall and say, my places are vacant. I ain't paying you that kind of real estate tax. Change the assessed value of my property because it's a ghost town down here because of your piss poor decision making. The homes in Belmont, North Downtown, Fifeville, along Water Street and Market Street and the side streets will drop in value. If you don't have the commerce, if you don't have the activity, if you don't have the attention, if you don't have the buzz of people walking by, the prices will drop. Do you see? Do you see? Do you see? This is extremely intuitive to folks that have run businesses. It's not as intuitive to part-time parks and recreation employees. Do you see? Now let's get that sound from council meeting, a growing rift between the mayor and Councilor Lloyd Snook. It's so obvious. Wait till you hear this. Tag a friend, share a friend, hit the like button. Do it now. Do you have that ready to go? Play it in 3, play it in 2, play it in 1.
Mayor Walker, I think the article that you're referring to, at least the one that was forwarded to me, is from Massachusetts, from Boston. The doctor who was writing it was talking specifically about the problem in Boston and in Massachusetts, where the rate of transmission is about 1.20 or 1.21 today, versus in Charlottesville and Albemarle and Virginia as a whole, where it's about 0.9 or so. But it was a very specific argument for very specifically Massachusetts and Boston's experience.
Yeah, but Lloyd, if you've been following suit, then this virus and how it transmits, just like all of those students who came from around the globe, it doesn't matter if you're talking about numbers in a certain area. You can Google an article where over 239 scientists from across the globe sent a letter to the World Health Organization telling them that they were downplaying very important information that could keep people alive. We know what's been happening at a federal level from the CDC, and this is not about location, this is about science, and the science is going to be good everywhere. And so and I don't even know if our doctors would speak up locally. I know there was a change.org, and I'll see if I can find that before the end of this meeting, form going around where some of them signed on too. So I'll see if I can find that before I share any information. But how we're not talking about just locally here. We're talking about indoor dining. You can go to the World Health Organization. You can Google it in a New York Times article related to COVID. Dr. Bonds just mentioned it. the transmission rate is higher than if you're outside. The more people that are in a room together, the more likely there is for the virus to be transmitted. You've been hearing things like super spreader events. And so I did not remember the exact location, couldn't pull that up, but that is almost, it's irrelevant for this conversation. It's that people will stay healthier if they stay within the unit, family unit, the individuals they live it with. Once they step outside their door, we have less control over whether they remain healthy at this point, and we need to make decisions accordingly.
Watch the rift. It's growing, it's there, it's emerging, and it's getting momentum between those two, the mayor and Councilor Snook. It's obvious, it's palpable, and it's gaining momentum. You see an obvious power struggle that's happening. It's an obvious power struggle that's happening. And it's important to emphasize this. Vice Mayor Sina McGill is the sister of Lauren Mendoza, who owns Lampo and Prime 109. So the Vice Mayor of Charlottesville is the sister of a restaurateur who owns Lampo and Prime 109. I hope the perspective that the Vice Mayor gains from her blood family helps her with her decision-making process in this tumultuous time that is COVID-19, and her being one of 5 people that are determining the direction of the city. I'm going to repeat it. The Vice Mayor, the sister of a multiple unit restaurant owner. I hope that relationship is offering perspective to the Vice Mayor as she helps determine the direction this city is heading. Kevin Higgins leads a comment. Ben D'Alessandro will get to your comments. 3 city councilors and 2 supervisors watching the show right now. City Hall Facebook page tuned in. Kevin Higgins says this. Jerry, is there a COVID business continuity committee in place in the city, inclusive, that includes council, restaurant owners, and local business leaders? If there isn't, how is that possible 7 months later? Here's what Kevin Higgins asks. Is there a think tank team, a minimize collateral damage team, a collection of innovative talent along with council, meeting on a routine and regular basis to help strategize ideas to get Charlottesville through COVID? I cannot think of one. Is there? Is that what Project Rebound was? Do we call that project? I cannot think of one. Is there 2 or 3 counselors, 2 or 3 admins from City Hall, and a handful of restaurant owners and small business owners meeting on a regular basis, strategizing concepts to get us through this situation? Because here's one, and I've come up and I've been preaching this concept for months, if not a year, on this network. You want creative, innovative, and entrepreneurial ideas? Here's one. Put a kiosk in the middle of the mall. Have a $15 an hour city employee staff the kiosk. Sell a $5 wrist bracelet, the kind of bracelet you get before you go into a nightclub. Give a plastic cup along with that $5 bracelet. Say, we understand you're fearful of walking inside restaurants. We get it. Let's take these 6 to 8 blocks and turn it into a beer garden that's safe. Buy the bracelet, money goes to City Hall, incremental revenue can be used for teachers, can be used for PPE for teachers, this money. Take that cup, walk to the restaurants, fill it with beer, wine, and cocktails from the restaurants. The restaurants will give you 2 to 3 options in a nosh form that you can hold in your hand. You can eat the nosh. You can drink the plastic cup provided by the city. You can go to the whiskey jar and get a cold beer. You can go to the whiskey jar and get a barbecue sandwich. You can walk from the whiskey jar to the pavilion. You can turn around from the pavilion and walk back to the Omni. You can go to the Code Building, Joffrey Woodruff. You're drinking, you're eating, you're walking, you're patronizing, you're supporting, you're spending, you're driving incremental revenue for the city, making up a budget deficit. Why hasn't that been created? Why hasn't that started? Another idea, side streets. Downtown Stanton's doing this. Harrisonburg's doing this. Virginia Beach is doing this. Norfolk is doing this. Side streets. Why don't we have tables on them? Why haven't we expanded outdoor dining rooms and put tables up on side streets? I came up with this idea. Take the pavilion that is already covered, the pavilion that already has a tent, and put tables in the pavilion and allow people to get their nosh and their food from the restaurants and go to tables spread out under the pavilion and enjoy their food there. These are common sense ideas that people that have had to innovate and enterprise and create ideas to drive revenue for their businesses. Literally every day I have to walk into a building and come up with concepts that are going to create revenue and value proposition for our clients. And that in turn I can utilize that revenue to keep our team members earning 7 to 10% raises every year. That's literally what I have to do every day. I've done it every day for 12 and a half years and been successful doing it. Instead, you have part-time parks and recreation, and I'm not marginalizing, I'm not devaluing, I'm not knocking, I ain't throwing shade on Parks and Rec. Love Parks and Rec. Love Parks and Rec. Love Parks and Rec. But a part-time Parks and Rec employee should not be determining the innovation, the creativity, the enterprising, the entrepreneurial, the new ideas for a municipality with its back against the wall. Facts, 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 facts. Philadelphia is watching right now. Brooks Tanner. Remember Brooksy? Love Brooks Tanner. Brooks Tanner says, Philadelphia closed a lot of side streets for outside dining to help us. Brooks Tanner. Love you, Brooksy. Louisa's doing it. Janice Trevelyan just posted, Louisa's doing that, Jerry. Louisa County. Ben D'Alessandro, Virginia Basketball Academy. Love Coach Ben. I remember what downtown Charlottesville was like 35, 40 years ago. It was dilapidated. It was run down. I was in elementary school and my parents never would take my family downtown because it was unsafe and crime-ridden. These decisions will affect everyone. The downtown revitalization, the Omni, the restaurants, the movie theater, the Paramount, that was key, a key component to making Charlottesville the great place it is today. These decisions are made today with little to no perspective on the past or the effect it will have on business. Those who don't know their history are likely to repeat it. We need knowledgeable and experienced business-minded leaders atop our city. Kelly Lewis says facts. Those are facts, Ben D'Alessandro. Facts. Good post, Ben D'Alessandro. I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. And it takes cojones and thick skin to make this comment. It's getting to the point where the ask for resignation, where we pass along a petition with signatures, is on the near horizon with the mayor of this city. A petition that's circulated on social that we can sign, whether we live in the city or in central Virginia, asking for a resignation. Agree or disagree, hit that like button. Disagree, put the angry face. I don't care. We're at that point. Close to it, damn it. Are we not? It's pretty clear as day to me. We'll follow this closely on the show. I say this because I see a crossroads of proportions we've never faced coming down the pipe in the next few months. If you add a threat from City Hall about stripping cafe spaces if rent is not paid by October 30th, and if you add that with frigid, cold months on the near horizon where people won't sit outside because of being cold, and you compound that with minimal consumer confidence to eat inside because of a fear of COVID, You have a collision of a number of different factors all coming together at one time, creating a snowball that could translate into an avalanche that could catastrophically impact the restaurants that we love, and in a lot of ways are the identity of Charlottesville, Virginia. When you think of Charlottesville, what do you think of? UVA first. What do you think of second? What are the most restaurants per capita in a city in America? You think of the wineries, the breweries, the restaurants. You think of the weddings. Do you not? UVA first. And after that, the food and beverage and hospitality. That's facts. And you start chipping or eroding or trying to challenge the armor that is restaurants and hospitality and food and beverage and the auxiliary businesses associated, music, then you start eroding the foundation of what makes us great and economically strong. I'm not going to go down quietly. I understand the influence we have here. And I am now feeling for the small and medium-sized businesses in this community. I'm hearing from them text. I'm hearing from them email, phone call, direct message, in person. And they all share a common mindset. We're scared and we're terrified by what leadership is doing. And so many have said the Charlottesville of Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 is not the Charlottesville I remember. And eventually we must respond. And how we, the populace, respond is by calling for resignations. And when those calls are met by deaf or stubborn ears, we must raise our voices, increase the temperature, and demand those resignations. And that is true leadership. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show. Have a good afternoon.